Hello and welcome to the Sci-Fi Collective. I'm Wayne.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jude, and tonight we're going to be doing an episode review. It is The Ascent from season 5, and it's episode 9 from Deep Space Nine.
And we've chose this episode pretty much because the news broke like 2 days ago. The Rennie Aubergenois had passed away, and it was a shock, and we felt that we wanted to pay tribute by choosing an episode, and Jude um, picks
It,
this particular
it
episode, which
popped
is, I
into my
think is
head immediately.
a great choice.
I admit I'd forgotten the name of the episode, but yeah, great episode. Great, I don't know, friendship, bonding. Well, we'll talk about it as we go through it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and also because it had been a while since I'd watched this episode, it also I'd forgotten what the B story on the episode was as well,
I
which
had to, yeah.
which ended up being even more poignant and
They
also
they were like parallel. They were like parallel story. Like
yeah, yeah,
you know,
exactly. And with the passing of Aaron Eisenberg mere
yeah,
months ago as well,
it's
it
crazy.
was it was a double whammy of feels for this episode.
Totally. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Upsetting, but like the just watching the show makes you feel good. Like that, you can never take that art away. You can never take those episodes away
Hmm.
from generations to come.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. They both perform brilliantly in this episode, and I'm looking forward to discussing it because I thoroughly enjoyed this show.
Totally. On previous episode reviews that we've done, or walkthroughs, whatever we call these. I've said when it was released and that sort of stuff. I've not done that tonight. I just thought we'd just go into it. It doesn't matter. It was sometime in the 90s. That'll do.
Somewhere probably about 94.
Yeah,
No, actually, when would it have been?
season 5.
Yeah, season 5, I think probably would have been like 98 or so.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't really matter. No. So yeah, kick us off, Jude. Then.
Okay, so yeah, like Wayne said, it's got a B story in there as well, but the B story is great. You know, they're both really good. I've joked in the past about episodes having two B stories. This one was almost like two A stories, but obviously uh, the Odo and Quark one is the one which is more dramatic. If
Mhm.
you can't say anything else, there's more drama and danger and stuff going on there. But yeah, so we start with um, the Jake and Nog story.
Mhm.
So Jake is packing to move out, and Cisco is not happy about it, but in a jokey sort of way. Um, then we cut to Rom, who's expecting Nog back from his time away with Starfleet. Um, but he gets Quark come into his room instead with a whole bunch of root beer, and Quark's being his often grumpy self, but like there's a lot of I don't know what to call it. It's not passive aggressive. It's the opposite to that, where people are being mean to each other in this episode, but actually they love each other,
Oh yeah.
and that's what's great about this episode, which happens over and over again. But so that's happening a little bit with the two Ferengi in this scene,
Mhm.
um, where Quark says to Ram as soon as he sees him drink the root beer, "That's so human."
Yeah.
You know, he's just disgusted by it, but he knows that he's been doing the same thing as well. You know, he's 5 seasons in now.
Yeah.
He's used to these guys.
And
Um,
and also that goes back to the conversation that he had with Garrick in another episode where he got Garrick to try root beer
mhm.
and saying like how disgusting it is and how sickly it is. But if you have enough, it grows on you like the
That's right.
Federation.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and also I enjoyed the scene with Cisco and Jake just because like
I
being
always like those
fathers
two together.
being fathers ourselves, I always seem to like gravitate towards those father son moments
Yeah, they're
with
lovely.
Cisco and Jake, and I can't imagine how hard it is when your son decides to move out. But
I'm a few years away from that, but yeah, it'll be coming at some point.
yeah, and even though in reality, Jake's just the other side of the station.
Yeah, yeah, which is why I think like he can laugh and joke about it, Cisco,
Hmm.
in that scene. Like he is gonna be sort of lonely, and he loves Jake massively, but yeah, it's not too big a deal at the
And
end of the day.
I do love that Jake gives him rules of when he can visit.
Yeah. No, well, yeah, we both know it from that side. You said we're
Yeah,
dads, but we're both sons as well, so we both had something like that at some point
yeah,
where
exactly.
you first wanted your independence.
It's just like, don't smother me, Dad. Don't
Yeah.
smother me.
But yeah, so that scene, well, I haven't said it yet, but this scene is kind of the only one where both stories cross over
Hmm.
because without cutting away, the next person to enter the room, I presume it's Rom's room, is Odo.
Yeah.
And he happily tells Quark that he's got to come with him to see Federation grand jury.
Hmm.
Um, but he doesn't mention why.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm not sure. Well, no, I am sure now because I watched the episode earlier on today. I don't think he actually knows why. He's just happy that it's happening. He's just
Yes.
happy after 10 years or whatever it is to see him get his comeuppance, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
And
that's been going on since episode one, literally. Episode one, season one.
yeah, and he insisted that he was going to take him there directly himself because he didn't want to miss the look on Quark's face when he gets done over.
Yeah, basically. So yeah, then we go to titles. So yeah, it's interesting. Like sometimes, like they have a lot of drama before the titles comes on, but like it's not too dramatic at
Hmm.
that point. Not too much of a hook, but it is. It does perfectly tell you what's going to happen. Well,
Hmm.
apart from the mountain bit, which we've already spoiled by briefly mentioning it, but yeah. So cut to them in a runabout, and we find out that it's going to be what is it like 8-day trip or something? It's going to take
Yeah.
8 days to get there.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, I guess they are in the middle of nowhere, aren't they? And if you're
And
doing it
they
on a
haven't took the
roundabout,
Defiant. Yeah.
yeah, I say roundabout, runabout. um, Straight away the laughs, the mild laughs are happening with these, where like Quark's already bored. He's trying to get Odo to play cards.
Hmm.
Odo doesn't want anything to do with it. And
Hmm.
then, if like me, you have just suddenly jumped back in, Quark reminds you that Odo is a solid now,
Hmm.
which I was glad that they did because if he didn't, that would have gone over my head going back to this after so long.
Exactly, because sometimes when you're rewatching episodes, you forget whereabouts they are in the continuity. Because obviously, like season 5 was the period of time where Odo was solid.
Yeah, I think it was like a season, wasn't it? It was just
Yeah.
one season, I think.
Mhm.
Um, Quark calls him miserable, and Odo says like, "Say what you want, I'm still not playing," which made me laugh.
Yeah.
Um, oh, a Quark steals. I've written down Odo's Mills and Boone romantic novel,
Yes.
which he's reading, which is funny. And like, I think Quark sort of tries to embarrass him, just by reading out in the first place, but also by saying, you know, I could sell you my copy of Vulcan Love Slave.
Yeah.
I'm surprised
Oh,
he didn't try to pimp his holosuites.
yeah. Well,
But
that's the thing.
obviously, he's just taking the piss. He's just trying to wind him up and get under his skin and stuff.
Yeah. Well, but Odo does try and claim that it's
It's work.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
research. Oh,
Oh,
that's such a like a now thing to say, isn't it? Like
yeah,
if ever you're caught doing something like that,
yeah.
it's not
It's
for me.
no, purely for
Research.
professional reasons.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, like I say, the laughs keep coming in this scene. Oh,
And
yeah, and Odo says like, you know, say what you like, do what you like. I've won
yeah,
because I'm going to be going home alone, and you're going to be stuck on whatever Prime or whatever the place is called.
mhm,
And he goes back to his book, like now not caring anymore because he's just said, I've won.
yeah.
Um, do you want us to talk about that scene, or should we just skip to the
No,
next
I'm
thing?
happy
Because
to
there's
skip to the
a
next
lot
thing.
more to talk about as we go on. So back on DS9, Cadet Nog reporting to Cisco. He's back in his nice uniform.
Mhm. I
Um,
always thought the grey uniforms really. I know it's mentioned later, but they really did look like pajamas.
yeah, but you could say that with a lot of them. In fact, Jake actually mocks him later on and just says, "I wouldn't
Yeah,
be caught dead in those pajamas."
yeah,
I didn't write that down, but you just reminded me of that.
yeah.
Um, Cisco has a nice little talk with him, and it is just a little talk, just saying he's glad he's living with Jake. You know, he's obviously proud of Nog as well.
Mhm.
He says something to that effect, and then Nog leaves his office and says to Major Kira, who, by the way, is so blatantly pregnant in that scene, um,
Yes.
Nana Visitor. He says, "Oh, I inspire him,"
Mhm.
and she just says something like, "Oh, well, don't let him down then."
That's it. I think at this point, would these because it's in the middle of the series, would the story arc of her carrying um, Miles's baby have taken effect yet?
No, because they covered it for whatever number of episodes it was, and a lot of those episodes, like this one, she's barely in it. You know,
Or
they
standing behind a console?
yeah, which she was with this, where they tried to cover her, but it's like, you know, she's a triangle shape. Like she
Hmm.
starts up here and just goes whoop. Like you can't hide that, even though they try.
Hmm.
Even just like her head, just like you can see the weight on her face, but like her hair looks all frazzled, like as if like some makeup person's gone like, oh, we'll just do this, and she's gone, no, no, I'm not doing it. I'm fed up. Something along those
Yeah,
lines. That's what I was imagining.
it's
Um,
probably not far from the truth.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, we cut to Nog and Jake moving in together,
Hmm.
and they're happy at first, but then Starfleet's obviously, you know, a big part of who Nog is now, and he starts setting a cleaning schedule for them both.
That's the thing. Yeah, scheduling, taking alternate days for cleaning,
Yeah,
which Jake
yeah.
was shocked that people would clean every day.
And again, the weird thing is, like, we were talking about fathers and sons earlier on. I've lived with friends over the years,
Hmm.
and I've then also had where I owned the house, but I've had friends who were lodgers,
Hmm.
and I've felt like both Jake and Nog in this scene.
Yeah, I have lived with a friend before, one and only Mr. Drinkwater.
Oh, excellent. I don't
Um,
think I knew that.
no, that was only for a few months, and it did not do anything good for our relationship
No, I had the same
at all.
thing. Yeah, where like you could be like you just said, great mates, but like when you're under the same roof, like God, that can change quickly.
Yeah, very, very quickly.
And I
Days.
think the Jake and Nog version was a lot nicer than reality as well.
Oh
Like
yeah.
things what can happen and how you deal with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. It's just it's one of those situations where being mates with someone is one thing. As soon as you're living with someone, that's a total different kettle of fish.
definitely. But yeah,
And
they did the scene well, and especially to cut it down that quick,
yeah,
have
exactly.
it escalate that quickly.
Making sure that Jake knew that he's got to have lights out at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Lights out
Oh,
at
I
10
think he
o'clock.
like
Up for
he
the
would
gym
like
at
change it.
4.
He would say, "Oh, you can go to bed when you want, but you got to get up at 4."
That's it. Yeah, no, if you really want to stay up, that's fine. That's up to you, but don't miss the gym at 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, hyperproductivity, not always a great
Mm.
thing, especially for someone of Jake's mental attitude. So, yes, take us forward.
Yeah, sure. So we go back to the runabout, and Odo is eating what I thought was supposed to be soup, but then when I saw a close up on it, I was like, that's just water. So I don't know if he was supposed to be eating soup or if he is just supposed to be sipping water with a spoon from a bowl. He might be
Um,
happy to do that for all we know. Being
after having a period of time of eating nothing but soups, I can confirm that there is soups that are just as clear as water. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, so he very well could have been having soup, but
Or it could be gin.
it
Could be
didn't look,
gin or vodka or
yeah,
sambuca.
it it didn't look appetizing.
No, it didn't. Maybe it was just Rene. He just like was like, oh no, I can't have soup. Just stick some water in there. No one will notice.
That's it.
I'll
Maybe
tilt it.
maybe soup would stain the Odo mask.
Yeah, actually, it could have been something to do with that, where he
Yeah,
was just like, yeah, like I don't want to make this job harder and grosser than it
yeah,
already is, because we know that he hated that thing. He'd
yeah.
talk about that a lot. I can't blame him. There's not an inch of that thing apart from like his eyeballs where
Mhm.
his skin's got any room to breathe.
No, exactly. But then also that it's just once again nice little interactions between him and Quark of just
Oh,
winding
great.
each other up. Of
Just totally.
and but
And
also
we
it's
find
just
out that they've been there for 4 days at this point as well.
mhm.
They're 4 days in, so they're even more getting on each other's tits.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's just conversations that like just family have with each other of just like just smacking your lips.
Oh, I loved those lines and how they escalated, like the the line that's coming in a minute.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, like you say, Quark says, "Oh, why are you smacking your lips like that?" And he's like, "What? What? I'm not doing that." And then Quark starts saying like, "Oh, what's that buzzing noise? It's been going on for an hour." And he's like, "There is no buzzing noise. What are you talking about?" And he's like, "No, no, I can hear it. Listen." And then Odo just says, "Well, how am I supposed to hear it over all the smacking of my lips?" I just thought that was brilliant.
Oh, and
Actually,
once again, it's just this episode had so many reflections on just normal day-to-day life.
yeah, and I was gonna say, it reminded me of things like I know you love both of these programs, Rick Mail and Adrian and Edmondson in The Young Ones and Bottom, where that
Yeah.
stuff would happen all the time, where they're just
Hmm.
totally horrible to each other and just
Yes.
arguing. But they do care about each other, but like they just can't communicate in any other way
Yeah.
than to do that. And when, they're in a small room together like that, that's going to happen.
Now I can only envisage Odo going to Quark. Quark, you utter bastard!
Yeah. Um, But yeah, what makes that scene interesting is like there was a noise,
Hmm.
and it's a bomb,
Yeah.
and it's been put there by the Orion Syndicate, which is basically the reason why Quark's having to go um, to this trial. But we'll come back to that in a minute because I don't want to spoil stuff ahead.
Hmm.
But well, I say that, but if anyone's listening to us review this before they've watched it, you're mad. But I
Yeah.
still like to go in order, if
Yes.
that's all right.
That's okay.
Yeah, so they try to transport the bomb. It partially works, but it partially explodes
Mm-hmm.
and causes them to have a to make a crash landing.
Mm-hmm.
When they emerge, everything's fucked. They
Yeah.
have like minimal rations.
It's literally one ration each.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
It's
You're right about that actually. And then they have to make it last for the rest of what
however
we
long
plan
they're
out
going
to.
to be there.
Yeah. And Odo says like, "Oh, our options are freeze or starve."
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there'll be some light at the end of the tunnel for them, but we'll come back to that because we go back to DS9
Mm-hmm.
and Jake and Nog, getting used to living with each other. But are they really? I don't know why I wrote that. I guess
Well,
it's
it's
just
it's more getting
they're just
to
learning about each other.
it's learning what each other what winds each other up about one another. It's
Yeah.
like suddenly it's that moment of realization when you move in with someone, and in this instance, it's like, oh Christ, I've moved in with a lazy slob
Hmm.
who doesn't want to do anything, and like is just making my place look untidy. Or in Jake's instance, it's I moved in with an absolute control freak.
Well, I've got a phrase that you use sometimes written down on my page.
Hmm.
Also, a grammar Nazi.
Yeah, a grammar Nazi.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that's the thing. Jake loses his crap because Nog's gone through his book, and like at first he's really excited of like, oh,
You
you read
read
my
my
book.
book?
What do you think?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I didn't actually read it for the content. I just went through and corrected all of your grammar and punctuation.
Yeah.
And Jake loses his crap about
You would, wouldn't you? You
yeah.
get both of these guys' positions in these scenes. You feel for both of them.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm sure Nog was only trying to be kind, and then
Yeah.
having it shoved back in his face because really it was the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's one of them situations where you can understand both points of view.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I much more sway towards Jake's side on this. So
Mm. Yeah. Well, yeah. Because Nog is doing more. He's doing more to
mhm.
upset the other guy.
Yeah,
Like he's being upset by Jake's stuff, but Jake's only doing like two or three things really, or it's a case of what he's not doing, I guess, by
yeah.
not tidying and not caring and stuff
Hmm.
like that. But yeah, so we'll come back to those guys in a bit because we go back down to whatever planet we're on, if it even is. Yeah, it is a planet.
Yeah, I
Of
don't
course it
think it
is.
got a name, did it? I can't remember.
No, but it basically looks like it probably bloody is actually like somewhere in the middle of nowhere in Canada, I would say.
Yeah.
Where it's mainly snow, rock,
Hmm.
the odd green tree here and there. But as far as we know, there's no real life, no animals of any kind. Or
Especially in that climate, because
yeah,
Quark makes passing reference of getting excited about a stone, thinking it's a beetle, and
yeah, that comes a bit later because they're absolute. Well, he's absolutely starving by that point.
mhm,
So uh, Odo even says like, "Oh, the last 8 stones you saw, you thought were all
mhm.
beetles. There's no beetles. There's no
That's it.
anything."
And yeah, no, you're right. I am jumping ahead
But
because at this point they're still in the shot in the runabout.
and Quark finds a mobile, sort of massive backpack size mobile transmitter, which he's the one who works out we need to get it to higher ground to get it to work to get the signal out.
Hmm.
Um,
And I do like that it's Quark that comes up with this because it just
yeah, me
reinforces the
too.
thing of Quark isn't stupid. He
Oh
knows
no.
what he's doing. He has a very clear set of skills.
That's the thing with both of these guys. Like, they both love to hate each other, but like through 5 seasons at this point, neither one of them wants to admit that the other guy, they don't want to admit that they're friends. They never want to say that,
Mhm.
but they don't want to admit that the other guy is more than what they stereotype them as.
Mhm.
Like we actually see them. I'm going to jump ahead now. Like we see them in a later scene arguing, and they literally just start name calling.
Mhm.
And in that name calling session, they're just calling each other the stereotypes, how they see the other one,
Mhm.
how they like to talk about them. But what they're not saying is what they know deep down, like they're not just that.
No.
They're more than just those things.
No, exactly. But that is their relationship all over, from like
Yeah,
especially in, like all the way up to when it ends at season 7 and they're saying goodbye.
yeah, but this episode perfectly sums up their relationship, I think. Like if
Absolutely.
you've never watched anything else about them, it's perfect.
Mhm.
It's like, honestly, this could be a bloody play. You could put this on a stage
Mhm.
and have this work. You could, add some dialogue and make it last an hour and a half or something with just two
Mhm.
actors. And it'd be really good. You wouldn't even need many props or anything.
Mhm.
Just cut scene from, DS9 runabout and then your planet with
Yeah.
some mountains. Like, yeah.
No, I think so. Absolutely.
Um, while they're about to set off on their little journey, like they're still squabbling and they're still well enough to well, actually, there is laughs going between these two throughout the whole thing. But this time, Quark finds a foil jacket, and
Yes.
Odo says like, "Oh, I'll just go and get the other one," and Quark's like, "Oh no, there's only one. It's mine."
Yeah. That's it. It was
um,
destroyed.
yeah, yeah, like so many other things, and but they do swap. So if one's got the backpack transmitter, the other one will have the coat, or is it the other way around? I can't remember.
No, if they had, I'm pretty sure it was a question of they had the coat if they had the backpack.
Okay, yeah, yeah, that makes more sense.
Mhm.
Um, Odo says as they're climbing up the mountain, "Oh, if I, was still a proper changeling, I'd turn into a pterodactyl and just fly up there."
Mhm.
And they're arguing, and there's a line in there what made me laugh because I know it's one of those things where if you read it in a certain way, if it was written on a page, well, no, if you read it, it'd make more sense because of the punctuation or whatever.
Mhm.
But sorry, Quark says to Odo something along the lines of like, "What are you talking about? You've always wanted to be a solid. You're happy you're a solid now." And he says,
Mhm.
"I've seen you staring at my customers, staring at the Dabo girl. No," and then he goes with the Dabo girls, and he said, "Wishing you were one of them." And it just made me
Yeah.
think like he's saying, "You're wishing you were one of my Dabo girls," but he's not, obviously. He's saying the customers with the Dabo girls, but the way he says it without a break, it's like,
No, that is the way that I took it as well. That
yeah,
it's like, no, Odo really wants to be a Dapper girl.
yeah, yeah, you'll never get that image out of your head. Um, yeah, we're still going with that scene. I thought one quite nice bit what happened was Quark falls over. He's got the backpack,
Mhm.
and just the sort of sound in Odo's voice when he's just going like Quark, Quark, Quark.
Yeah.
Like he's obviously really
Panicked.
concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's panicked. And
And
then he,
concerned.
he
Right.
says like, "Oh, I was just making sure the transmitter's okay." But you know that he didn't mean it like that. He was concerned that his mate was okay in
Of
that moment.
course. Of course he was.
Um, and then they talk about swapping the coat and stuff, and then it made me laugh because I don't think they'd actually said it or referenced it in the
Mhm.
scenes earlier. There's a pair of trousers as well.
Mhm.
So the one who has the coat has the backpack, but the other one has the trousers.
Yeah.
So that just made me laugh that they're not just swapping a coat and a backpack, but a pair of trousers as well, separately. Okay, so we cut back to B story. So Nog has been working with O'Brien,
Mhm.
um, and they're just chatting. That's not really important. And he returns to a messy, lazy Jake,
Mhm.
and they have a bit of an argument and bit of a fallout. And say they, I think one of them says they're moving out. I guess it's Nog.
It's Nog, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all very short, but just moving that story along to come back at another point.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I've written down what we basically already covered. With Quark excited to see stones,
Mhm.
mistaking them for beetles. Something I've actually mentioned in just a couple of other episodes reviews.
Mhm.
I like how Odo's hair starts to look from this point onwards. Each scene it just gets a little bit more crazy.
Just a little bit more disheveled and
Yeah,
yeah.
and it just reminds me of like 80s like new romantic pop bands or whatever, like Duran Duran stuff.
I tell
Those
you
sort of
who it
bands.
reminded me of is when it would get a bit messy like that is George McFly.
Yeah, yeah. When
Yeah.
he does the same thing, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
They think they're getting somewhere, and then they realize that there's a massive amount of mountain to climb.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry. The one thing I didn't just say there is they've now been climbing for 3 days.
Yeah.
So that's pretty crazy to be climbing. You know,
That many
not,
days without food.
and we don't know how much sleep they've had. We obviously know that they're freezing. Like, probably not going to get much sleep either if you keep swapping your clothes over.
Also, a scene that should have taken place in this
Oh,
episode
what
is
you're going to say is what would have worked in the play that I was talking about. The play version is exactly what I know you're going to say.
oh really?
I think so.
Oh well, yeah, because I was just thinking like the one scene that should have been in this is just that the only way that they're surviving is every night they're having to cuddle.
Yeah, that's what. Okay, so at this point in our A story, basically Quark reveals to Odo, I think we might have mentioned it earlier, but he reveals to him that he's a witness.
Mhm.
He is not he's not on trial, and explains, he says, why do you think the bomb was there?
Mhm.
Like, if I was involved, I would have been dead before, or they'd expect me to kill myself, I think he said, when you're that deep in.
Yeah.
And then Odo's like laughing at him, saying like, "Oh, of course that you tried to buy your way in there, didn't you? You've not got enough money, blah blah blah." He's running him down, and then
Mhm.
like Quark has the excellent comeback of like, "Yeah, yeah, you're right. I'm a nobody," which means you've wasted the
Mm.
last 10 years of your life chasing
Yeah.
after a nobody with no money. You've dedicated your life to that, like, and he says something along the lines of, "So which one of us is the bigger failure here?"
Yeah.
It's like that was a really good moment, I thought, you know.
Oh no, definitely, because there's a lot of home truths and there's a lot of like this wasn't them just winding each other up. It was like
No.
really having a go.
Yeah, no, that was the height of it, like where they're both feeling really crap, like they both like getting some enjoyment out of being better than the other one, and then they both make each other feel like crap.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, great moment there. We go back to the B story, um, and it's Rom and Cisco talking about the kids, and each dad basically just wants their kid to be more like the other at
Mhm.
that point, which I thought was um, sort of funny. But then the funnier level of this scene is that Rom's like swilling around a test tube full of blood, and if people
This was
remember, like,
really funny.
yeah, Rom's just like, oh,
I've been testing it for 8 hours or something. Like nothing's happened yet because that's what they did to find out if people were changelings
Yeah, because
at that
he's like
time.
Nog's. I'm really concerned. Nog's come back and he's a totally different person. He's
Yeah,
ultra controlling. He
only in
threatened
a
to give
science
me.
fiction show could you have that.
He's like he threatened to
That
give me a disciplinary because my toolbox was untidy,
yeah,
and he's gone. So he's gone, and I snuck in and got a blood sample last night just to check whether he was a changeling or not. And he's
yeah.
like, it's just the way that he kept shaking the
He's like
vial.
still expecting it to do something while they're talking.
Yeah,
Like how long does it take?
yeah, exactly.
What's the wait time usually?
And Cisco's just reassuring him that, like, no, that he's just a Starfleet officer. And that's it. He's like turned a new leaf in
It's
his
just
life.
years now. Yeah, yeah. It's a very short scene, but yeah, I liked it.
And
I
both of
love.
them just expressing that they wish that their son would learn something from the other's
Yeah.
son.
So yeah, they basically plan to reunite them. So we'll come back
Hmm.
to that in a bit. Um. Oh, so yeah, we cut back to Odo and Quark, and Quark is either asleep or unconscious or whatever.
Hmm.
And there's more sort of compassion slash worry from Odo. Well, really a lot of worry because he starts like smacking the crap out of uh, Quark's head.
Yeah.
You know, there's
No,
like
Quark
he
won't wake
obviously,
up.
yeah, yeah, he thinks that maybe he's dead at that point,
Hmm.
which he's not. But then Quark does wake up thinking that he's deaf, or at least deaf
Yes.
in one ear.
Hmm.
So keeps, repeating himself,
Yeah.
trying to hear himself and stuff.
And it's a fair point. Like being out in the cold for that amount of
I was gonna
days,
with you, yeah,
you're gonna start shutting down
yeah, yeah, definitely.
with no food.
Yeah, and I noticed at this point, like the makeup artists were starting to make Quark at least look different. At like um, Odo's hair's getting crazy, but like his
Hmm.
makeup doesn't alter too much, apart from maybe getting a bit dirty. But yeah, he's
Hmm.
starting to look look at Quark's skin, and it's definitely um,
Going
not.
paler,
Yeah,
a bit
yeah,
of
all sorts of stuff
bruising.
going on. Yeah,
Yeah, sores
um,
coming up.
they've they get into an argument like they keep doing, and yeah, we touched on this earlier on. They both bring up the word hate, and then they start talking
Hmm.
about what they hate about the other one,
Hmm.
just throwing it back and forth, and then it just turns into just name calling, just like taking a turn each, just flinging them at each other. Um, but yeah, we already covered that. But what we didn't is they actually get into a bit of a scuffle and have a bit of a tumble down the mountain just for about 10, 20 feet or something.
Hmm.
And we find out quickly that Odo's actually broken his leg,
Yeah.
which, yeah, I don't much
Odo's
more solid
buggered.
than that. Yeah,
Yeah, that's it. There's and but then the interaction between Odo and Quark regarding that is quite nice because obviously it's a question of even though they never let down the pretense of hating each other,
mm,
um, Quark in no way is going to leave Odo behind
yeah,
in this situation, which just shows is a testament to how much Odo does actually mean to him.
definitely.
Um, because he's willing to like try and fix his leg up, put him on a stretcher, and drag him up that mountain, even if his excuse to Odo is that no, I'm just running low. We're running out of emergency rations, so if you die, I can eat you.
Yes, I love that line. And
That's it.
because of what you've been fed story-wise about like character-wise by TNG and stuff like that earlier on, like you can kind of believe like maybe he actually would, but I mean they've had that in movies about humor, like
You've
there's
had it
true
in real
stories.
life, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, where that does happen. So yeah, you can kind of believe him though, even though at the same time you think it's more of a joke, but you'll,
Hmm.
we'll never find out.
No.
But there was also one joke before that line that made me laugh.
Hmm.
It is where basically Quark has decided he's gonna do the wraparound, tie a stick to
Hmm.
Odo's leg to keep it straight and stuff. And Odo just says to Quark, he just goes, "Stop looking at the leg! You'll pass out again."
Yeah. Yeah, so obviously he's been doing this quite a few times,
Yeah.
and
And
we're
then I think
seeing it
Quark
at the
says
later
like, "Oh,
stages.
it doesn't matter anyway because I'll still know it's there." It
Yeah,
just made me laugh, like, Quark moaning more about that situation, but Odo's the one with the broken leg.
yes.
But yeah, Quark tries out the transmitter a bit further up. It's still not working.
Hmm.
Um, he collapses again.
Hmm.
They have a bit more arguing.
And also, Odo does not have a smooth journey going up that mountain. It
Oh
is
no.
as rough as hell if you're already in severe pain and malnourished and like suffering with hypothermia as well.
Uh, but what I didn't write down is basically Quark at this point says like, "Oh, I'm giving up. I'm done. That's it."
Hmm.
And that's when Odo decides that he's just going to drag himself the rest of the way, and then
Hmm.
Quark takes that as like, you know, more fighting. Like, "Oh, okay, you're just doing that to embarrass me."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
which
because
I think there probably is a bit of that there. I think in this scene, in this part of it, almost their hate as well as their love for each other does make them go on. Like
hmm.
you might not have been able to do that otherwise. Odo probably is thinking like, I got a broken leg here. Like if you're
Yeah,
just gonna quit because you're tired, like I'll show you. I'm gonna go the rest of the way. I'm gonna beat you, sort of thing,
yeah.
even when I'm more screwed than you are.
Hmm.
So I think that kind of saves them in a weird sort of way.
Yeah, and then Quark just thinks over, Rom's gonna be left the bar,
Yeah,
and Nog is gonna be, and there's gonna be no one there to stop Nog being influenced by the humans.
yeah.
So, and that was his reasoning to self of, okay, I must go on.
And also, what I'd forgotten about while I was watching this until he said it is like I forgot that they auction off their body parts and bones and stuff, don't they?
Yeah.
So he says my bones will lay here unsold and unmourned, which is like funny and sad at the same time.
Hmm.
It's just like, oh yeah, they do that, don't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's motivation for him as well as
Hmm.
wanting to beat Odo, I think. So he gets up and then he decides that he's going to go alone at that point and just say to Odo, well, he doesn't say stay there, but it's inferred. But what he does say, what made me laugh, is just try not to break the other leg while I'm gone.
Hmm.
To which Oda just says something like, "I'll try."
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So B story. Cisco brings boys back together, and basically says, "I'm your dad. I'm your captain. Like, do as you're told," kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if it. No, yeah, I think that is it because if there was more to that, I would have written it down.
Yeah.
Um, Odo and Quark, we now seeing them climb separately, and they're far enough away from
Hmm.
each other to not be able to hear each other, because Odo's
Hmm.
shouting at him, and he's getting no response. Um, and Odo basically decides to record a message on his comm badge, which, much like the rest of the episode, like there's love in that message and there's hate in that message as well.
Hmm.
Um, where he's just, oh, I can't remember exactly what it is. Oh, yeah, that's it. He says, like, oh, I expect Quark is 30 meters away from me right now, so you better go and retrieve his bones so they can be sold, even though they're not worth anything.
Yeah.
It's like he still had to have that dig in there, even knowing that, like, I'm dead. Whoever's listening to this message, we're both
Mhm.
dead, but I will still have this dig at him, even in death.
Yeah.
Um, oh, but then I don't know if I said this in text to you earlier on, but like this is the one moment in the episode where I don't normally do. I try not to do this, and don't always admit it either. But like I
Mhm.
cried at his next line, and I don't think I would have done normally. It's
Mhm.
just because of what happened to Rene this
Yeah.
week, where he just says, "Cremate me, stick my ashes into a bucket, and send
Mhm.
it back into the wormhole, back where all this trouble began." You know,
Mhm.
something along those lines. I haven't got the exact quote, but yeah, I found that sort of upsetting, considering
Absolutely.
sad and a happy thing at the same time. You know, it's just weird that like I thought of this episode as soon as we knew that Renee had gone, but
Mhm.
like I totally didn't remember that line being in
Mhm.
there. So when it was on there, it was just like, oh God. But
Yeah.
um oh, and that was interesting. After he said that, he actually said his next line was, or better yet, and then he just gets cut off because
Mhm.
then suddenly then you see what they were waiting for all along. He gets
Yeah.
transported off, which means obviously Quark achieved his goal, and then we
Mhm.
see Bashir, Worf, and Dax all on the there on the Defiant, and they tell him that Quark saved him, and he just says like, "Oh, I was afraid you'd say that." So it's like he's bloody alive,
Yeah.
but it's like, oh, Quark did it. You know, it's like he would have rather have been the one to press that button, even though that's all it was. Getting to a
Yeah.
certain height and pressing the button because Quark did it. It's like he knows he's never going to hear the end of that.
Mhm.
Um, so they're both in twin beds. Um, oh no, sorry, I was wrong earlier on. Just to go back very briefly to the
There
B
is one more
story.
B story.
No, that I think that was it. Like, but they just made
Mhm.
up. They
Yeah.
just both acknowledged, like, oh, you're lazy, you know,
Let's
but
go
we're
play Dom
mates.
Shot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're both suddenly saying like, oh, let's be lazy together. It's like, no, let's tidy. You know, just suddenly saying the
Yeah.
opposite. And but yeah, so that was the end of their story. But yeah, Odo and Quark on twin beds, like recovering. And yeah, it's just really nice. Like they just say like, "Oh, when I said I hated you earlier on, I meant every word."
Yes.
And it's just like there's stuff what's being said there and the stuff what's not being said. It's like
Mhm.
I'm never gonna I'm never gonna acknowledge you as a friend apart
Yeah.
from in this weird sort of we're saying the opposite to what we mean, but we're not at the same time.
Mhm.
It's yeah, it's just great. It's just like everything that just happened didn't happen, but we can neither
Mhm.
of us can never forget it at the same time. It was just yeah, great ending to a great episode.
Well, that's the thing. It's like the season finale of DS9 where Kira tells him not to take offense uh, or get upset by how Odo speaks to him, and it's gone. What you talking about? That man loves me.
Yeah, but it's true.
Yeah.
Like even though he's joking around and he knows Odo would hate to hear that, like
Yeah.
it is weirdly true.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And this it is an episode which revolves around primarily four characters in
Hmm.
two pairs, both contrasting each other on two very different relationships, two very different friendships.
They both are sort of almost opposite in the way that one started as a friendship and it is degrading, and
Mhm.
the other is the other way round, where at least they started like I'm always
Mhm.
going to hate this guy, and
Yeah.
actually no, it's like really, even though we won't admit it, we are best of friends. You know, what would we do without this other guy? Where would
Yeah.
I be?
And I think that it's a fun episode. It's a funny episode.
It's
It's
amazing that they can keep those laughs going on, you know, during like
mhm.
all that time of like we're about to die, we're about to die, we're about to die, but they still keep it dramatic and funny at the same
Yeah,
time. That's a gift by everyone involved, I think. You know, the
absolutely.
writers and the actors in those scenes.
And it just this episode just reaffirms everything that you already knew of just how brilliant Rene Auberjonois was as an
And
actor.
also, as I think I was saying it on a episode we did, one of the last ones, to be that good an actor through that amount of makeup and to portray these different emotions and stuff, with
Hmm.
barely being able to move your face.
It's a
Is
gift.
it, yeah, it is.
It's a real gift and a real talent, and
I'm glad we've done this episode tonight.
yeah, and I'm glad that Rene did take on the role of Odo because I don't think
I
anyone would have done
can't
it
wait to do a
justice.
rewatch now.
Hmm.
And that character is such a big part of it. I mean, they all have their roles. All the characters have their
Hmm.
roles, and like obviously you could say Cisco's the main character, but without Odo, you wouldn't have the massive story arc that they have. You know, all
Hmm.
that drama involving so many different people and races and planets, and
Yeah.
it's all, you know, all revolves around Odo
Hmm.
ultimately. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I can't wait to do a rewatch of everything again. I'm just going to start again.
Hmm. Absolutely. It's well worth it. I'm about halfway through season 4 at the moment,
I
and
think I was
it's.
about on halfway through season 2 when I decided to do a rewatch, but I think I might just say, sod it, I'll start again
Hmm.
because he's asking those questions from the first season anyway, like who am I? Where am I from?
Yeah.
You know, like I know he loves justice and all that sort of
Hmm.
stuff, but you know, that the question is always there, like,
Who am I?
yeah,
Yeah. Exactly. And this episode is just another great progression within Odo and getting to see that side of his and Quark's friendship. And it's, I think, a good episode to choose to pay homage, I guess.
oh, I'm sure we could have picked loads of other great ones, especially ones with Kira, you know.
Hmm. Tons of
And
Kira, tons of changeling episodes.
definitely, but yeah, my whatever part of my brain that did that, what just reacted, was just like, oh, Rennie's gone, let's do an episode. It was just bang, it was just there. I
Yeah,
feel like we made the right decision. I'm sure we'll review lots of more Odo-centric episodes in the future, but I'm glad, really glad we did that tonight.
definitely, definitely. So, let us know what you guys think of this episode. Let us know in the comments section down below, and remember to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. And we'll be doing more episode reviews and talking about more stuff. We're going to be much more on the regular now on the channel, getting back on the seat. So, thank you very much for watching, guys, and we will catch you in the future.